Welcome to Daily Devotion with Ken Gurley. Devotions designed to inspire you on your daily walk with God. Here's your host, Ken Gurley.
Hey, good Friday morning to each and all of you. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of our daily devotion family. Glad you're here. I am boarding a flight this morning, heading back home, and been at the Urshan Pulpit Conference. Very meaningful, thankful for everything. Just some touching moments. I may post about it later. But wow, what an evening, and I'm just grateful for having brothers and sisters in the Lord and seeing good things happen all across our fellowship. Happy for you. Thank you for being here this Friday. You may be in a thank God it's Friday mode. I get that. I've been there. And I pray this is just going to help you along the way. How to hasten your healing. I don't know. Our family's been talking about Yellowstone, going to Yellowstone, doing some national parks, and I was just reading up on a few articles about Yellowstone and the anticipated volcano eruption up there. And it's like, I don't really want to be where there's going to be an eruption. And I'm not prophesying there's going to be one, but they say the big one's coming. But they've been saying that for a long time, haven't they? Yeah. But it reminded me many years, most of our daily devotion family, you weren't even born. You weren't even born back during 1980 when Mount St. Helens erupted. Prior to its eruption, it was 9,677 feet above sea level. Afterwards, it was 8,363 feet. Over a quarter of a mile of its height just disappeared. Some areas were covered by 600 feet of debris. Wow. 23 square miles of material removed from the mountain. Some 200 homes destroyed, 185 miles of roadway, 15 miles of railway. A massive ash cloud flew 80,000 feet into the sky, reached the East Coast in 3 days. Finer ash circumnavigated the globe in 15 days. That's incredible. 57 people, 7,000 big game animals, 12 million salmon, millions of birds, small mammals died in that eruption. The devastation was so immense. Wow. If you had witnessed it, anywhere near it, the before and after, you know what I'm talking about. But I'll never forget an article I read after that eruption. Acres of ground that seemed like they'd never recover began to heal. And as early as the summer of 1980, small trees and plants began to reappear, and by 85, the ridges surrounding the volcano were covered with new growth. Healing had come to that scarred mountain. In that great fasting chapter of the Bible, Isaiah said in Isaiah 58, "Then shall thy light break forth as the morning, and thine health shall spring forth speedily, and thy righteousness shall go before thee, and the glory of the Lord shall be thy rear ward or rear guard." How to hasten your healing. Shall spring forth speedily. Oh. Came across the article a while back, and it was written by a nurse. It was called "Hastening the Healing and Lessening the Pain." It was an interesting article and regarded the necessary treatment for burn victims. It made me wonder, though, if there is a way that nature can heal itself so quickly, if there is a treatment that can cause the body to experience quicker healing, are there ways to hasten the healing for our emotions, our spirits, our attitudes, our feelings? Isaiah pictured this new day dawning, the light coming steadily and quickly as the sunrise. He saw a person's relationship with God fast forwarded. Wow. as God's glory just marched behind it. He saw health coming back speedily. I've scoured through my own memories and experiences, and I've searched through others as well and what they've shared, and I know there are some ways that we can recover from terrible things happening. If not quickly, then quicker than what they would have been without them. There are ways that we can hasten the healing. Before I dive into those, let me give you two quick thoughts. Number one, numero uno, life hurts. Yeah, it does. Life hurts. It's not fair. Well, I see this every year during hurricane season. When a place that got hit by a hurricane 1 month, 2 months later it gets hit again. I think about Lake Charles, 2 or 3 years ago, it was just like one storm after another. Of the millions of people along America's coastline, and the millions of locations of longitude and latitude, that storm had to pick the same place to hit twice. Life hurts. It's like the oyster with a bit of sand in its shell. Things are going to irritate you. But like an oyster, you've got to learn to process that momentary irritation and transform it into an eternal treasure. Take the grit, take the pain, and turn it into a lustrous pearl. First of all, life is unfair. Second of all, healing must come. After life hurts you, you can't stay hurt. Healing must come. Sir Andrew Barton gave the Barton Code, "Fight on, my men. I am hurt, but I'm not slain. I'll just lay me down and bleed a while, then I'll rise and fight again." Yeah, there's times that we're hurt. We need to admit we're hurt. There's times that we're going to have to lay down a bit. When I fall, yes, rejoice not against me, O mine enemy. When I fall, we're going to hurt. We're going to fall. But we've got to get up. Healed, rested, renewed, restored, strengthened. I'm talking to somebody right now. I'm ministering to someone right now. You can't stay down. You got to get up. For some, the healing is going to come quicker than others. For some, it never seems to come at all. They live in yesterday's hurts and wallow in yesterday's disappointment. Why should we heal, Pastor? If it still smarts, if it still stings, if it still hurts, then you and I are going to hurt and sting and smart others, because hurting people hurt others. So rise, be healed. I don't want this to be long on description and short on prescription, so let me give you some tried and true ways of how to hasten your healing. Call these healing hasteners, if you like. Number one, here we go. You better get this one in your spirit and get it quick. Don't blame God. Don't shake your fist at the sky and blame God. I read an article a while back by Dwight Bain. He's a nationally known writer and counselor. It was after Hurricane Charlie hit Florida. He wrote an article entitled "Surviving Stress After the Storm." And he said, "I encourage you to keep the single thought in your mind as you begin to sort through the process of stabilizing and getting back to normal life routines you had before the storm. That if you get focused on rebuilding, you'll be able to spend your energy in positive ways instead of being worried or afraid." In other words, don't make a bad situation worse. When things go bad, I can't think of a way to make it any worse than to begin to blame God. It's God who's going to get you through this situation. It's God who's going to see you through the valley of the shadow of death. It's God that's going to make all things work together for good. Don't blame God. This word teaches us that He cares about us, and when we hurt, He hurts. Zephaniah 3:17 says, "The Lord your God in your midst, the mighty one, will save. He will rejoice over you with gladness. He will quieten you with His love. He will rejoice over you with singing." The picture, what a parent does with a small child. It's what God is saying here. You're my child. Doesn't matter how silly, how foolish, how upsetting something one of his children does, you still love them. He still loves them. You still want the best for him. He still wants the best for us. God loves us. He doesn't delight in our suffering. Well, what about Job, Pastor? Well, what about Job? God didn't bring that suffering on Job. Satan did. God doesn't delight in his children's suffering. Don't blame God. Don't get mad at God. Don't settle scores with God by saying, I'm not worshiping, staying out of God's house. You're just making a bad situation worse. Here's the second way to hasten your healing. First, don't blame God. Second, look for the silver lining. One elderly preacher said there is a yes in every mess. How true. If we really believe that all things work together for good, then we're going to see that even in a terrible situation, there's a promise in every problem. God is in the redemption business. He's taking the scrap and turning it into salvage. He's turning garbage into some sort of compost that's going to bless somebody. I stopped collecting them. I did collect them for a while. The many stories of how people went through a bad time, but in that bad time they discovered the purpose for their life, or they discovered a calling for their life. They discovered that valuable someone who was going to spend the rest of their life with them. How many times have I read those stories? Let me give you one of a young Methodist minister who wanted to be used more of God. He preached a message from Romans 8:28 about all things working together. And someone asked him after service, you really believe that? He said he did. That was on Sunday. The next day he went to Chesapeake Bay to duck hunt with some men in his church. One man tripped and a shotgun went off, and the minister's eyes were filled with birdshot. Surgeries couldn't save his vision. Pastor, do you really believe Romans 8:28? When you can't see at all, can you find a silver lining? A man continued to pastor. Church began to grow rapidly. People in the community came to him for advice because they knew he couldn't see them. He got his prayer request. His yes was found in the midst of a mess. Keep looking for that promise. Keep looking for that silver lining. This is how to hasten your healing. Here's number 3, and I like this one. Keep a sense of humor. You better have it. You better have it. You better get a sense of humor. It was a few weeks before the final exams, an instructor told his class to remember rule number 6. Week of the final exams, the instructor told this story. British Royal Navy Admiral had an aide who was always meticulous, but over anxious about his appearance, his performance, his future. One day the Admiral told the young man, don't forget rule number 6. The aide searched the military manuals to find out what rule number 6 was. He searched the library at the British Museum, all with no luck. Finally, he turns to the Admiral and said, I'm sorry, sir, but I have searched and searched and searched, and I can't find any reference to rule number 6. The Admiral smiled and said, rule number 6 is this: don't take yourself too seriously. When asked what rules number 1 through 5 were, the Admiral said, they don't really matter. The person who can laugh at himself heals more quickly. You do know that a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, that humor can cure the bleakness in a person's soul. Director of a firing squad asked the condemned man, before we shoot you, would you like a last cigarette? Prisoner replied, no thanks, I'm trying to quit smoking. Humor, it lifts us up. It's the shock absorber that helps us get over the bumps of life. Sir Francis Bacon, imagination, he said imagination was given to man to compensate for what he is not, and a sense of humor to console him for what he is. Yes, a sense of humor. It'll boost your immune system. It'll reduce stress. It will lower blood pressure, increases your tolerance for pain. It hastens a healing process. It does good like medicine. But more than that, laughter depends on no one else. Yes. Like David of old, you got to learn how to take off that garment of heaviness and put on that light ephod of praise and encourage yourself in the Lord. You can become your own medicine through adopting a mindset that said, I can't stop what's happened to me, and I can't do much about what's going on around me, but I can choose the posture of my soul. That passage I read in Isaiah is found in the context of fasting, that when people lose sight of themselves and turn to helping others, great victories come their way. You ever notice when you're fasting, that's when everybody decides to bake cookies? That when you're fasting, that's when all of a sudden the refrigerator is filled with delights? God has a sense of humor. You should be like God. Here's the fourth way to hasten your healing. Keep loving others. That's the message of the Bible. Trust God, love people. If you trust people, you're going to be hurt. If you trust God, He'll never fail you. Trust God, then give yourself away to people. It was Robert de Vincenzo, the great Argentine golfer, once won a tournament, large sum of money as the purse. A woman approached him asking for money, saying her child was seriously ill, near death, that she couldn't pay the doctor's bill. Touched by her plight, the golfer gave her the money. He had just won in the tournament. The next week, an official with the Golf Association told him, said, I have bad news for you. That woman that you gave the money to, she doesn't have a sick baby. She's not even married. She fleeced you, my friend. You know what the golfer's reply? You mean there's no baby that's dying? That's right, said the official. And the golfer said, that's the best news I've had all week long. I like what Mother Teresa said. People are often unreasonable, illogical, and self-centered. Forgive them anyway. If you're kind, she said, people may accuse you of being selfish and having ulterior motives. Just be kind anyway. If you're successful, you're going to win some false friends and some true enemies, but succeed anyway. If you're honest and frank, people may cheat you. Be honest and frank anyway. What you spend years building, someone could destroy overnight. Build anyway. If you find serenity and happiness, they may be jealous, but be happy anyway. The good you do today, people will often forget tomorrow, but do good anyway. Give the world the best you have. It may never be enough, but give your best away. You see, in the final analysis, it's between you and your God. It was never between you and them anyway. Self-centeredness slows down your healing. Keep trusting in God. Keep loving others. And watch what God does. He will hasten. He will hasten the healing. I just want to go back through those ways to hasten the healing yet again. Let's just remember them. First of all, don't blame God. Number 2, look for the silver lining. Number 3, keep your sense of humor. That really helps. Number 4, keep loving others. And you just watch what God could do. Could it be that, like Mount St. Helens, some of us could hasten and quicken the healing process? I want that to happen for you. I want you whole. I want you sound. What a week. What an amazing week. Looking forward to service this weekend. I pray the blessings of the Lord upon you. May God be with you. If you're on Facebook, like, follow, share. YouTube, subscribe. Share as well. X, subscribe. Check out kengurley.com. All the resources there, the podcast there. Look forward to being over on KYCC in just a few moments. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord be with you. And just go, have an amazing week, and hasten your healing. God bless.
Thank you for sharing in daily devotion with Ken Gurley. We pray this ministry has been a source of encouragement and strength to you. Please be mindful that your financial support enables us to meet with you each day. To give a donation or connect with us, visit our website at kengurley.com. There you will also find the latest books, podcasts, and resources. Blessed 90 Days to Change Your World is Pastor Gurley's latest book. You can get your copy of this life-changing book at kengurley.com. May God's favor rest on you in every way. Until we meet again.